October is the pressure month. The temptation is to panic, but it really all comes down to three big don'ts.
The Nonprofit Podcast, powered by DonorBucks.
Today is our October check-in. Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast. I'm Jena Lynch, Education and Community Engagement Manager here at DonorBucks. Each week, we share practical information, clear insights, and inspiration to help you raise more, reach further, and drive real results to take your nonprofit to the next level. October is what we call the pressure month. It's when year-end feels like it's right around the corner, because it kind of is. The temptation here is to panic and start pushing out appeals before you're ready. But October doesn't have to feel frantic. This is the time to build urgency in your messaging and map out your campaign so November and December actually feel manageable. And today, as always, I'm excited to be joined by our on-the-ground correspondent, Cara Augspurger, Executive Director of Grace Care Center Foundation. Hey, Cara.
Hey, Jena. Yeah, I love this conversation today because this is a great time to be talking about this. And I want to just say that if you're waiting until December to start your year-end campaign, you are asking for trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Donation forms can fail. Emails will go unread. Donors are just going to get confused, and major gifts will get missed. And your team will end up exhausted. So I just encourage you, don't be that organization that puts it off until December. Start today.
Yes, I think that is some good words of caution here. I think a lot of our listeners may be in this spot right now. So the question is, how do you channel this pressure that you may be feeling into progress instead of panic? So that's what we want to unpack today, right? So let's just start with how October feels. When you think about October as a nonprofit leader, what comes to mind, Cara? You're in this spot right now.
Yeah. And honestly, October feels like maybe standing at the bottom of a hill, knowing that an avalanche is coming down it. You can hear it rumbling. You know it's coming. And if you don't prepare, you're going to get flattened by December. So, a lot of organizations, and I've seen this for years, they act like Giving Tuesday is the starting gun. They sprint in December and they just discover that they have those broken donation forms. They have sloppy copy, and donors don't even know what they're giving to. And all that scramble costs dollars, and it costs relationships for so many organizations. So I really always recommend looking at October as my chance to get ahead. It's that month where I step back and I say, okay, what do I want December to feel like? Do I want to be panicked and buried in all these details, or do I want to be calm? Do I want to be present with my donors? Do I want to be telling stories and actually maybe even enjoying the season a little bit with my family? So that shift alone has really changed how I approach October.
That is so smart. I think looking ahead can be challenging when you've got so much to do. And so really the work that you do now in October can absolutely decide whether December feels manageable or miserable. So today we're going to make it simple. It really all comes down to three big don'ts. So don't leave it all in your head. Don't surprise your donors, and don't assume it's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So let's break this down. I'll start with the first one. Do not leave it in your head. Operationalize instead.
It sounds like a sideline cheer. We need some pom-poms. So you're right though, Jena. So let's be honest. I think this is something that a lot of us are really guilty of. We think that we're going to remember to fix that donation form, or we're going to remember to schedule the Giving Tuesday email. And then December rolls around and those things are still in draft form, or they're worse. Maybe they're broken. So for me, operationalizing just means getting things out of my head and into a system, on paper, on my task list, queued up in my computer, whatever it is, out of my head into a system.
Yeah. If you think, I'll remember to tweak that thank you email and receipt, you may not. If it's in my head, it's probably not going to happen. So write it down, add it to a tracker, and actually walk through the steps yourself. Click the button, make a $1 test gift on your phone, read the receipt. And if anything feels clunky or it doesn't feel human, fix it now.
Yeah. I am so guilty of trying to keep things in my head. Sometimes it will never live anywhere else. So I really have to force myself to get it out of my head into a system, whatever it is, paper, tracker, just needs to be mapped out. And then you can start. You can write that appeal. You can load it into the email platform. You can schedule those social media posts well ahead of time. For me, the practical action here is this. I like to draft every single year-end fundraising appeal email in October. So not just the first one that's going to go out sometime in November, all of them all the way through December 31st. I draft them in October. Then I load them into the email platform and schedule the drafts. So December me will tweak a subject line or update some copy, but most of that work is already created. It's finished, and I can free up that mental space in my brain that's holding on to my to-dos.
Yeah, and honestly, just hitting that schedule button is such a stress reliever. I know I can't relax if I have outstanding items. And if your system doesn't let you schedule, I like to create kind of like a kit. I call it like my press play kit. So it's got your captions match with photos for social, your appeals for your different channels, your direct mail, your email, and all those bits and bobs all in one folder or sheet that have the date, status column that say where it is, if it's ready to be sent or not, right? That way, when things get hectic, you're just copying and pasting instead of creating this from scratch, right? That's something that we do here at DonorBox, especially for a social, and it works really, really well.
It's such a great idea because when you're in the moment, something likely will come up to take your attention away from that, and then it just doesn't happen. So that's a really great idea. And it also, by scheduling those things and getting them queued up and ready to go, it frees me up, especially for the things that I can't schedule. So calling donors, spending time writing those handwritten notes, showing up live, either in person through a meeting or on social media, doing impromptu live feeds. And so having those things just done, set it and forget it. I love it.
I think the word operationalizing is too fancy, but just setting yourself up so that your future self is not scrambling.
Mhm.
And this doesn't mean just for December either. There are little things that you can do now as you're setting these systems that will make next year even easier. So you can, think about your drafts in your email tool. You can name your campaigns instead of something like campaign 3, right? Name it year-end 2025, final week, reminder 1, reminder 2, deadline email, et cetera, right? Keeping this theme. So when you pull your plans for January or for next year, you'll instantly know what was what, and you can take it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, just tweak it, use that template, a formula. And it's just details like that your future self will be happy to have. And you can always go back and make it all better, tweak it, but get it staged and ready to go.
Getting these to-dos out of your mind and on paper isn't just organizing, it's giving you a little breather at a time when it's going to be especially important. So get it ready to go now rather than later.
Okay, let's jump to the second one.
All
Do
right.
not surprise donors. So
Mm-mm.
you gotta warm them up, y'all. This is one of my favorite parts because it's like dropping little breadcrumbs, a behind the scenes post, a sneak peek of an impact story, even a thank you that hints to what's coming. It's not the hard ask yet, right? But it does flip a switch in people's minds so that they're already looking forward and they're not surprised when they do get the ask.
Yep. Right. You want donors thinking, oh, something exciting is coming. So by the time you actually ask, they're already primed.
This is really effective if you add in a simple step too. So many organizations are scared to talk to their donors before December. Maybe they're afraid that they're bothering them, but you're not. They have cared about your organization in the past, and likely they want to keep on caring. So you just got to show up early. Donors want to be insiders. They want to be in on what you're doing, and this is a big part of that.
Yeah. We see this over and over when organizations reach out before the big ask, not with another appeal, but with something personal, something thankful, or something really showing impact. Donors tend to have higher giving tendencies. You have higher donor retention year over year. You see more repeat giving and you see stronger gift amounts. So, for example, how I would do this, let's say I am going to send out a Thanksgiving thank you update before our year end ask. So, I've seen organizations do this a lot. And then what happens is they exceed their previous best year end fundraising results. So you can send a segmented pre campaign postcard with a very short story, maybe a really impactful photo, and you can customize the copy for the segment. So I could say, like, hey, Jena, you gave when it really mattered last year, and then tell a little bit about what that money was used for. So warming up those donors doesn't have to be complicated. It can be really as simple as like a 2 or 3 sentence donor email with a really great subject line and a quick impact story. Or it could be a casual Instagram reel from a staff member saying, we're cooking up something exciting for Giving Tuesday. Stay tuned. So those touch points plant seeds without making an ask. And you might be surprised that you'll see more raised at year end. You can send it in an email, and I love direct mail. So direct mail is a really great way to get that postcard in the mail. We have so many great friends over at Appealmaker. Their postcards are tremendous and so easy to use. Delight your donors this time of year. Get them ready.
I know you love direct mail. I think that you have helped me love direct mail even more. And our listeners are going to hear more about Appealmaker very soon. We've got some very exciting things in the works for the podcast with
Good.
Appealmaker. So stay
Love
tuned.
it. Yeah.
And okay, I'm sidetracking us a little bit. Speaking of direct mail really quick, this actually reminds me of something Chad Barger shared back in episode 176 of the Nonprofit Podcast. So just a couple episodes ago, he talked about postcards and how the second someone pulls it from their mailbox, they're already deciding, keep it or toss it. Just that walk from their mailbox to their kitchen counter. And that tiny moment matters. So if you use a pre-campaign postcard as one of your warm-up touches, you want to make it count, right? A good teaser or a quick compelling story can be all it takes to get them to hold on to it. And that small act of keeping it is the first step toward being ready when your bigger year-end appeal arrives. So if you missed that episode, definitely go back and listen for more of Chad's practical nuggets. I think that was a really cool one.
He always has so many really great tips. And I've seen people put these on their refrigerator. And so your picture is on their fridge for most of, the holiday season and as they're thinking about making their year-end gift. I think all of this, it's not just about adding another tool to the pile. You're taking something that usually feels stressful and you're making it doable. And so that's what warming up your audience does. It makes it feel less overwhelming for you and for the donors because they know that you're building awareness and they know that you're going to come and share more as the giving season starts.
All right, last one. Don't assume it's obvious. So here's where you ask yourself, what will a donor feel at each step? Is my appeal inviting them into a story? Do they know their gift matters? Am I thanking them in a way that feels personal, right? These little things matter.
Yeah, it does. And it's one that's really often overlooked, but it's such a big deal. And it's kind of fun too. It doesn't have to be complicated at all. So sometimes it's literally swapping out some stiff phrases for words you'd actually say in person. So like instead of saying your contribution has been processed, you could say, we just received your gift and it's already making a difference. So you're saying the same thing, but that one tweak makes that whole experience warmer.
Yes, this is the month to do that. If you realize your thank you note or your email feels dry, or your call to action on your donation page is outdated or not inspiring, this is your month to fix it. And I'll add, this is also a good time to actually walk through the experience of your donors from point A to point Z, right? It's a whole journey.
Getting these to-dos out of your mind and on paper isn't just organizing, it's giving you a little breather at a time when it's going to be especially important. So get it ready to go now rather than later.
This is also a good time to actually walk through the experience of your donors from point A to point Z, right? The whole journey. So you want to start with your giving process like you would as your donor. Click through your form. Again, make that small test gift. Pay attention to what you feel, what you understand. Was the page clear? Did the confirmation screen leave you inspired or confused? Did your thank you email come right away? Did it feel personal? That donor eye view shows you what's obvious and what's missing.
Mm-hmm. Last year, I wrote most of my year-end copy from the appeal letter all the way to the thank you notes in October. And it's so important to make them sound very personal, not transactional. It's always relationship is greater than the transaction of the gift. So please add that to your copy. But I also like to think in terms of a little donor journey. So you're sending the warm-up like we just talked about. You're sending an appeal of some sort where you're asking them to financially help this time of year. They're going to your donation page and then they see your thank you. And then they're receiving at least one follow-up, hopefully more, but at least one. As you make a donation on DonorBox, you get that great immediate thank you note in your inbox, which is terrific. So if any of those pieces feel disjointed, that whole experience suffers. But when they connect, donors feel cared for. And that is such a gift to them.
These supporters worked hard for the money that they are entrusting to you. They deserve the very, very best back from you. So the acknowledgement can actually be one of the most important and the very best parts of the campaign. And that's a major part of that journey.
Yes, absolutely. And there's research that shows that it is the most important, making them feel appreciated so that they continue to be inspired by your organization and continue to give. So one thing I like to do is test my writing with our youngest supporter and our oldest. So I will literally say, would you read this? Does it make sense? How does it make you feel? And I want their candid feedback because if a 20-year-old supporter and an 80-year-old supporter both feel invited to the story and it's relevant to them, I know I've hit the right tone.
This is such a great method. It's something that I've actually adopted from you, Cara, and I continue to share with our nonprofit community. And it doesn't require fancy systems, right? You're just putting your words in front of real humans that you know and trust.
Absolutely. And if you're a small team, this is gold. You don't have time for endless rewrites in December. So October is when you can test, you can tweak it, you can make sure that experience feels good no matter who's on the other end of that message.
Because at the end of the day, we're not just mapping an email sequence or a donation form, right? We are mapping the feelings a donor has all the way through. So if we zoom out, October is really about making life easier for yourself in December, right? You do not want to leave it in your head. You don't want to surprise donors and you don't want to assume it's obvious. I think it's that simple.
Think of it like insurance. You do that prep now, so December feels more like celebration rather than crisis.
So I think our practical action for you is to just pick one thing this week. Draft that Giving Tuesday email and load it in. Maybe you send a quick because of you update to your donors, or you just take 5 minutes to test your own giving form. Pick one thing this week and get it done.
Yep, those little steps really do add up. And by the time December hits, you'll thank yourself for creating some breathing room so you can actually be present with your donors instead of just glued to your laptop.
That's the win right there. More time to actually connect, right? And less time scrambling. All right, that's your October check-in.
And we'll see you next month when it's time to launch those campaigns.
Thank you for being a part of the nonprofit podcast community. Your work matters, and we are so honored to support it. If you enjoyed this episode, share it, leave a review, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, take that first step and stay inspired.
Getting these to-dos out of your mind and on paper isn't just organizing, it's giving you a little breather at a time when it's going to be especially important. So get it ready to go now rather than later.
That warm feeling when you help someone, it's not just happiness, it's fulfillment. And we believe it should be available to everyone, from frontline heroes to first-time fundraisers. Our tools empower you to help others. This is our mission. This is DonorBox, helping you help others.